He was tying his shoes. Ordinary morning, same routine, same black coffee, same toast. And then he froze, eyes wide. One hand grabbed the chair, the other his stomach. "Call someone," he whispered. 5 minutes later, he was on the kitchen floor, sweat on his forehead, pale, shaking. His wife thought it was a heart attack. It wasn't. It was his pancreas, silent, swollen, inflamed, and it had been begging for help for years, but he didn't hear it. Because nobody talks about the pancreas. Heart, liver, brain, sure. But the pancreas, it's small, it's shy, it doesn't complain loudly, until it does, and when it does, it screams, stabbing pain, nausea, fever. Sometimes out of nowhere, sometimes after a meal that seemed perfectly normal. But here's the part that gets me. Most of the time, it's food. Not poison, not infection, not a rare disease. Food. Everyday things we put on our plate, thinking they're harmless, maybe even healthy. But for the pancreas, they're gasoline on a fire. And once that fire starts, it's brutal. Now, take a breath. Because this isn't about fear. It's about power. See, inflammation isn't random. It doesn't fall from the sky. The body gives clues. Quiet ones. But they're there. You feel bloated, heavy, weirdly tired after meals, a strange taste in your mouth. Maybe you start skipping breakfast because food just feels wrong. That's not just aging. That's a whisper from your pancreas. And the good news? You can answer it. You can calm it, nourish it, even reverse years of silent struggle, and it doesn't take a mountain of pills or a hospital stay. Sometimes all it takes is knowing which foods help, simple ones, humble ones, and how to use them like medicine. You won't hear this on TV. You won't get it from a 5-minute doctor's visit. But in the next few minutes, I'll show you what makes your pancreas suffer, what makes it heal, and why one quiet change in your breakfast could be the reason you never see the inside of an ER again. This story isn't rare. This happens every day, and it's time someone told it right. Ready? Let's begin. His name is Walter, 71, retired plumber, lived in a small town near the lake, always fixed things for others. Rarely asked for help himself. Big hands, bigger heart, one of those guys who'd wave at strangers on the street. Still drove the same pickup he bought in '94, and for years, Walter thought he was healthy. Sure, he'd gained a little weight, got tired more easily, his belt didn't fit like it used to, but that's age, right? Just getting old, he'd say with a grin. But inside, something else was happening. He started skipping breakfast, said it made him queasy. Lunch turned into a sandwich and coffee, dinners, heavy, late, comforting. And then the nights came, strange burning under his ribs, like someone had lit a candle in his gut and forgot to blow it out. Maybe it's heartburn, he told his wife. She bought him antacids. Didn't help. One night, after lasagna and red wine, it hit harder. A twisting pain, cold sweat. He sat on the edge of the bed, rocking. "I think I need help," he whispered. They drove to the ER. It wasn't his heart. It was pancreatitis. The doctor pulled up a scan, pointed at a foggy mass near the stomach. "That's inflammation," she said, "and it didn't happen overnight." Walter was stunned. "I don't drink," he said. "I don't even eat junk food." She nodded. "That doesn't mean your pancreas is happy." That night, something shifted in him. He lay in the hospital bed, IV in his arm, and stared at the ceiling. "Why didn't I feel it sooner?" he asked the nurse. She smiled, a tired, knowing smile. "The pancreas is quiet until it's not." 2 days later, he went home. No more pain, but the fear stayed. And Walter, the man who fixed leaks, patched roofs, and never missed a Sunday paper, decided to fix this too, but not with pills. He started asking questions, reading, watching, listening. He learned how sugar was hiding in things he thought were healthy, how late-night meals made his pancreas work overtime, how one little organ, just 6 inches long, could bring down a strong man like him. And then he found it. Not a miracle, not a diet, but a list of foods that calmed the fire: cabbage, blueberries, sweet potatoes, real oats, a pinch of turmeric. Simple, old school, unglamorous, but they worked. Week by week, the pain stayed away. His skin looked better, his energy crept back, the belt fit again. And one morning, standing by the lake, coffee in hand, he smiled. "I don't feel sick anymore," he told his wife. And he didn't. He felt alive, not younger, not perfect, just well. That's Walter's story, but it could have been anyone's, yours, your brother's, your neighbor's, because this isn't about age, it's about knowing what no one ever told us. And now, it's your turn. Let me show you what Walter learned, and why your pancreas might be waiting for the same chance. Imagine your pancreas like a quiet mechanic. It doesn't speak much. It works behind the scenes, calm, steady, loyal. Every time you eat, it steps in, sends out enzymes to break down fats, carbs, proteins, sends insulin to keep your sugar in check, all without a word. But here's the problem. What happens when the garage never closes? When the mechanic works overtime every day, every night? Eventually, things break down. That's inflammation. And in the pancreas, it's especially dangerous, because unlike your skin, which swells and heals, the pancreas has no off switch once it's angry. It swells deep inside your belly, starts digesting itself. Literally. Why? Because of stress. Not the kind you feel in traffic, the kind you feed. Let's break it down. High sugar triggers insulin spikes. The pancreas has to jump into action, fast, hard too often. Fried food forces it to release more enzymes. Thick, heavy, greasy meals, that's a full-blown emergency for your pancreas, like trying to mop up a flood with a toothbrush. Alcohol, even in moderation, for the pancreas it's toxic, a slow burn like pouring fuel on smoldering coals. But the worst part? You don't feel it. Not at first. There's no alarm bell, no flashing light, just a quiet shift, a little fatigue after meals, a tightness in your upper belly, maybe a sudden craving for sweets you never used to have. But inside, the inflammation has started. And once it starts, it changes everything. Here's what science tells us. Inflamed pancreatic tissue becomes stiff, swollen. It stops functioning properly. That affects digestion, blood sugar, energy, mood. Worse, chronic inflammation can turn into fibrosis, scarring. That's permanent. And scarred pancreatic cells, they don't produce insulin well. That's how type 2 diabetes begins. Not in the grocery store, not in your DNA, but in the quiet daily damage you never noticed. Now, here's the light at the end of the tunnel. Inflammation is reversible. This is the magic word, reversible. The body can heal if you stop feeding the fire and start feeding the repair. Because just like there are foods that irritate your pancreas, there are foods that calm it, that support enzyme production, that soothe inflammation at the root. Anti-inflammatory, pancreas-friendly, natural, no prescription required. But you have to understand what you're working with. The pancreas is like a cat. Ignore it, and it walks away. Treat it right, and it comes back, purring. Your job, learn what it loves and what it fears, because once you do, everything changes. Energy, weight, digestion, blood sugar, sleep, not magic, not luck, just biology. And now that you see the blueprint, let me show you how to use it. 3 habits, 3 foods, 3 small shifts that saved Walter and could change your life next. Walter loved his breakfast. Big, hot, heavy, 2 eggs, bacon, toast, thick, white, buttery, sometimes pancakes, sometimes sausage, always coffee, strong. It was his ritual. "I need it," he used to say. "Gives me energy." But that energy was a lie, because 30 minutes later, he'd crash, sluggish, foggy, and sometimes a dull ache under his ribs. At first he blamed the coffee, then the bacon, then the eggs, but the real culprit? What was missing? See, breakfast isn't just the first meal. It's the most important signal you send your pancreas. And Walter had been sending the wrong one for years. No fiber, no antioxidants, no anti-inflammatory support, just fat, salt, sugar, spike, and every morning his pancreas went from 0 to red alert, until one day his daughter, a nurse, came to visit. She sat at his table, looked at the plate, and said, "Dad, your pancreas hates you." He laughed. She didn't. So they made a deal. For 1 week, just one, he'd start breakfast with color. Something from the earth, something that grew, something his grandmother would have recognized. The first morning, a bowl of blueberries. Nothing fancy, just fresh, cold berries. No sugar, no yogurt, just them. Walter frowned. "That's it?" She smiled. "Eat them first, then the rest." He did. The next day they added oats. Real oats. Slow cooked. No packets, no flavors. Then a sprinkle of flaxseed, a dash of cinnamon. By day 4, he wasn't asking for bacon. By day 7, the pain was gone. Gone. Here's why. Blueberries are anti-inflammatory powerhouses, packed with anthocyanins, compounds that cool inflammation like rain on a fire. Oats, full of beta-glucans, gentle on digestion, feed the good gut bacteria, which lowers the burden on the pancreas. Flaxseed? Omega-3s, natural oil, lubricates the system. And cinnamon helps control blood sugar, meaning less insulin work. That's 4 healing agents in one humble bowl, no pills, no side effects, just food. Walter still has coffee, but only after the berries. He still eats eggs, but with spinach on the side. And every morning now he says one thing before breakfast. What can I give my pancreas first? Not what he wants, what it needs. Start there, and your whole day changes. Start there, and the healing begins. It hit Walter at 3:17 p.m. A slow, creeping burn behind the ribs. Not sharp, just wrong. He hadn't eaten in hours. Just a quick sandwich at noon, turkey, mayo, a bag of chips, then back to his garden. He was trimming roses when it started. That same tight, hollow feeling in his belly. Not hunger, something heavier. He sat down, took a breath. What did I do wrong this time? His wife brought him a glass of water. He sipped it, felt a little better. But the truth? His pancreas wasn't in trouble because of what he ate. It was when. See, Walter, like most people, skipped meals sometimes, got distracted, waited too long. He thought giving his digestive system a break was a good thing. But for the pancreas, that kind of break is war. Let me explain. Your pancreas needs rhythm, structure. When you eat regularly, it knows what to expect. It prepares enzymes, releases insulin smoothly. It's in control. But long gaps, blood sugar drops, then spikes, the pancreas gets yanked back into gear, suddenly aggressively. Worse, you get hungry. Too hungry. You overeat. You rush. And now the pancreas has to put out a 4-alarm fire. This is why people feel worse after a late lunch or a giant dinner. It's not the portion. It's the chaos. Walter learned this the hard way. After that afternoon, his daughter gave him a rule. No more starving, no more stuffing. Keep it steady. So he did. Instead of skipping breakfast, he had those berries and oats. Instead of a heavy lunch at 2, he made a small plate at 12:30. A handful of walnuts, a slice of avocado toast, green tea. By dinner, he wasn't ravenous, just ready. He even added a small evening bite, a piece of banana, a spoon of almond butter, something to keep the system calm through the night. And guess what? No more 3 p.m. belly fire. No more random fatigue. No more waking up dizzy. It wasn't a diet. It was timing. Because for the pancreas, consistency is kindness. And unpredictability? That's poison. Think of it like this. Would you ask a tired friend to lift a fridge without warning? No? Then don't do it to your pancreas. Feed it regularly, respect its rhythm, and it'll return the favor, quietly, powerfully, every day. Walter had one weakness, creamy things, mac and cheese, gravy, mashed potatoes with extra butter, creamy soups from a can, that velvety texture. It made him feel warm, safe. He called them his comfort meals. But his pancreas called them something else. Trouble. One night, it was mushroom soup, from a can, thick, salty, smooth. Hits the spot, Walter said, leaning back in his chair. 20 minutes later, he was in the bathroom, stomach churning, skin clammy, a dull, deep ache under his ribs. Again. He stared at himself in the mirror. What is wrong with me? The next morning he showed his daughter the can. She read the label, then looked up and said, "Dad, this isn't food. It's glue." Let's break this down. Creamy, processed, shelf-stable comfort foods are often loaded with saturated fats, hydrogenated oils, salt, preservatives, and the worst part? Emulsifiers. Those chemicals that make fake creaminess stick together, they irritate the gut lining, disrupt digestion, trigger inflammation, and the pancreas, poor thing, has to release extra enzymes to deal with this sludge. It's like asking it to mop up oil with a paper towel. Now here's the shocker. You can get that same comfort without the chaos. Walter didn't believe it at first, so they made a swap. That week, his daughter cooked a soup from scratch. Not complicated. Carrots, leeks, a sweet potato, simmered, blended, a splash of olive oil, pinch of turmeric, a hint of ginger, creamy, golden, silky. He took one bite, paused. "Why does this taste better?" "Because your body agrees with it," she said. No ache, no fog, no regret. Here's what was happening inside. The sweet potato gave him fiber, which slows digestion and eases the pancreas's workload. The turmeric? Natural anti-inflammatory. Ginger helps with enzyme production and gut flow. And olive oil? It's fat, yes, but it's the right kind, monounsaturated, which soothes inflammation instead of sparking it. Walter was hooked. Soon he was making his own comfort food. Creamy lentil stews, butternut squash soup, blended veggie broths with a swirl of tahini or cashew cream. Same warmth, same satisfaction. But his body thanked him instead of punishing him. And that was the lesson. Comfort isn't in the cream. It's in how you feel after. So here's the habit. If it's creamy, make it clean. Skip the can, skip the chemicals, blend real food, use healing fats, add spices that love your gut. Because the goal isn't just to eat. The goal is peace after the plate. And when your pancreas feels peace, everything else falls into place.